All right. This week's drop, we are back. Sidney Smith, Mr. David Greaves. Bruh. So we have not been with you guys or together doing a podcast since, I don't know, 10 days now?
Feel like a long time.
Few things have happened. We're going to jump into them. First thing I want to get into, bruh. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. Let me say this, and then I want to hear from you. And then we obviously leave it in the comments, subscribe, share, all that shit. Bullshit fight. Mike Tyson could have knocked this motherfucker out in the first round, second round. Yeah. I'll even give the old dude the third round. He did start to look a little tired after that, but he's 60 years old.
Mine's 58. Come on, be easy.
But what a bullshit fight. Yeah. And I really felt bad I didn't feel as bad as I would have felt if people paid $70, $80 for it. Mm-hmm. But I'm sitting in the green room up in Grand Rapids at the comedy club watching it with the staff and whatnot. And we're just like, what the fuck?
It was a money grab. I think he made 25.
Yeah, I think Mike made 20, 25, and then Jake made like double that or something.
50,
whatever.
Something crazy. Again, if you don't know, Jake Paul is a YouTube phenom and he's making money.
Yeah.
So I felt bad, but good. I felt bad because it made Mike look like he needed money. And I would hope that he doesn't need the money, but I'm not mad at taking a $25 million payday. If you thought it was going to be a real fight, joke's on you. He fought Roy Jones, same thing.
Yeah, but I don't think Mike was doing as much of the animalistic pre-fight shit for the Roy Jones shit as he did for this one. He was really selling this like he did not like this kid, and he was going to lay this kid out.
Everybody knows. I don't care how old Mike is. If Mike hits you, you're going down.
Yeah.
Again, he 58, 68, again, he's still Mike. And if Mike wanted to, again, like you said, first, second round, when I start to see all the clips, I see that it looked like Jake was like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to need you to pull it back a little bit. That almost hit me, And the way that I hear the contract was situated was first round knockout, he gets nothing.
Yeah.
And every round he went further, he got more money. So, again, 25 mil for 16, 15, 20 minutes?
I saw just yesterday, honestly. I just saw last night. I was up late. I was sending you shit. And the guy on IG Reels, another podcast, and I wish I could remember who it was. I didn't write it down or anything. It was late. Sorry, folks. But they were talking about it, and they showed some footage of Jake Paul, which if you're a boxing fan, hell, if you've been in a street fight, you notice this. Yeah. Jake Paul was wide open for a lot of overhand rights.
Yeah, yes.
And they went through and showed a clip of Mike throwing the overhand right. Yeah. But he shortened it.
Yeah, yes. He hooked it.
Yeah.
He brought it.
And so one guy was like, so do you think he missed it? They're like, he didn't miss it. He shortened it. He didn't fully, because he'd have knocked this kid out. And Mike never threw an uppercut.
No.
Which was the giveaway against Roy Jones. Yeah. Because he had Roy against the ropes a couple of times and he never threw it.
And I think he had less like for Roy Jones as he did for Jake Paul. I think him and Jake Paul probably had a good time together. Mm-hmm. And I think Mike took it even easier.
Yeah.
Because again, the uppercut is Mike's bread and butter. And that hook, when I saw the hook pull back, I was like, oh, okay. Especially now after the fight, you start to see it all clipped up. I was like, oh, Mike, 25 mil, bro. All right, again.
But here's the other thing. And growing up as a diehard boxing fan, going all the way back to Sugar Ray Leonard was my first athletic hero. And getting my gloves at a young age and my first speed bag as a young age and just loving it. I have to admit that this shit like that and the shit we've seen in fighting in general over the last 5 to 6, 7 years, this is exactly why I have a hard time rooting for it anymore.
Boxing, there's so many fights that you can go back and look at and go, that was a rigged fight or it was a bad, the decision was horrible. That made boxing get a bad taste. So that's why MMA took it over. And, at least dude got knocked out.
Right.
There's no questions about who won that fight.
Right.
where boxing is just it's hard to root for now. Especially like the bigger dudes, like the heavyweights used to be it. The smaller dudes every once in a while, Sugar Ray, sprinkle in and out. Where now it's the smaller dudes that you're like, oh, I want to watch them fight, because the big dudes, there's only a couple of them.
You and I and Ant were out together. It might be the last time three of us got together for drinks. We need to do that again.
Yes, sir.
But we went to Twin Peaks.
Yes.
And we're sitting there, and that slap shit was on that Dana White has created. And I remember us sitting there watching it and talking and having beers and just chatting and thinking, this is some of the dumbest shit.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, maybe half an hour later, we're all engrossed.
Yeah. It's like a train wreck. A car accident. You just like, he let him slap him?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. He slapped the dog pee out of that dude. Oh, man. Yeah. So you like, listen, dude, concussions. And then, you get older, you're like, man, I don't know if I could let somebody slap this shit out of me like that.
Hell no.
Like, no. I don't care how much money you paying me.
And so it's fascinating to see where pugilistic activities or sports are going and what we as the American public will sit and watch.
They got bare knuckle boxing or the boxing in the backyard. That was regular dudes fighting regular dudes.
And that was crazy shit on YouTube back in the day.
They're making big money doing that shit now. And I'm like, the dude with the suit come in and a dude in some gym shorts and they'll fight each other. You'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, I'm
interested in knowing. So is that an actual like federation that they're doing it, or just some more underground type shit?
I think it's underground because I can't see any state kind of regulating or giving you the okay to box bare hands or.
Is it? So I can only imagine there's two kind of people that will fight in a bare knuckle fight. People who that are that hard down on their luck, or people who think I'm just that tough. Yeah. Or maybe a combination.
Remember the tough guy fights you used to have at bars?
Yep.
It's that same similar. I think the bare knuckles is licensed, but the like backdoor street.
Yeah.
That isn't.
Like that Kimball Slice.
Yeah. Which again, that's the only reason why he got into MMA.
Yeah.
Because of him knocking out people in real life. But he looked horrible in MMA.
Just to bring it back though. So where were you at before the fight and at the end of the fight in terms of what you felt like you were going to see? Were you one of the few people who said this is going to be complete bullshit, and when it played out as such, you're like, see, I told you motherfuckers? Or did you have some hope that this would be a real fight?
I had some hope. Again, Mike sold it, so
he sold it so well.
That, well, let me see Jake get knocked the hell out, because he been knocking cats out that are legends. And I wanted to see him get put on his tail, or at least rocked, so that he could know you've been fighting some old washed up dudes.
Yeah.
I think somebody wants to fight him now who's an old boxer.
Yeah, but now it's because I want to get that check. Is it because you really want to knock him out, or do you just this is an easy payday for you?
And if I'm Jake, I'm not letting nobody knock me out, because if I get knocked out, it's a win or lose for him at this point. Like, how much more money do you think you're gonna be able to money grab? Who's next?
And you're right. I think if I'm Jake, and I'm doing with this kid, and I think I can't forget who he tied himself to, but he tied himself to someone who has a background in boxing and UFC as an executive, and they've done a massive job of this. If I'm Jake, and it's weird that I'm thinking about this now, I think because I don't like Jake Paul, I didn't allow my brain to think this way, which is sensical.
Yeah.
If I'm Jake Paul, the money is in not letting you knock me out.
Yes.
Until I have to let you knock me out.
Exactly. Like, at this point, do I make it like a trilogy? Like, I fight somebody who's semi-good, I lose in a draw, and then we get another fight, and I knock you out, and then the third fight you knock me out, or vice versa. Because that's the only way that people are still going to pay.
I don't think he does that or has to do that until he gets to a point where he's ready to take his money and go home.
Would you pay for another Jake Paul fight?
I wouldn't, but there's a lot of fools who will, probably.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I guess because
numbers don't lie.
No.
You just have to be in the ring with someone that other people want to see too, though.
You know when I knew it was going to be a bad fight? When it was at Cowboy Stadium.
Now, why did you think that?
Because I was like, they got 100,000 people in here, this is Vegas wouldn't even approve this, so they had to do it somewhere where they could just loaded up with a bunch of people. And
yeah, I think they touched almost 80,000, somewhere between 70 and 80,000 people that had in that building.
As soon as I saw, and then the commentators, I knew, I was like, bro, this is a wrap.
Bro,
this is a wrap.
When I saw, look, one of the greatest fighters ever, me, myself personally, would not want to get into a ring with this man because he's one of the greatest ever. But can we stop putting Roy Jones Jr. in any position with a microphone in front of him? You might as well go get Thomas Hitman Hearns and let him speak into a mic.
Listen, Roy, that's him saying it.
100%.
Don't come see me. I love you. You are one of the greatest. And I know you run up on people.
We'll run up over here and have your checkbook in hand too.
To jump in and then it's gonna be bad.
Well, there's 2 checks you gotta cut. I am a litigious person. That's what they say.
Yeah. I'm suing.
Run up over here if you want to.
Yeah.
You sound horrible on a microphone. Yes. Great in the boxing ring. Yes. In fact, I love Roy so much I hate Antonio Tarver to this day.
Stand him.
Can't stand Tarver.
Hate him. I'm glad I ain't seen him on sports or nothing.
Can't stand him. But Roy with a mic and Rosie, who I love to death. What are we doing? So I'm only jumping on what you started, which was the commentating shit was. And then one of the greatest things that came out of the Tyson fight, and I love my man said, but someone got a still shot of him with the hat and the whole, and they played the shit from it was that damn Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America.
Yeah,
she's your queen.
Yeah. Like when I seen said, I was like,
this is all joke. This is all joke. I can't take any of this seriously.
Yeah, first of all, it was at the Cowboy Stadium. And I was like, Cowboy Stadium? Why not in Vegas? I was like, oh, this is a money grab. And then I seen Cedric up there and everybody else. I was like, these folks, like they fans of boxing like me and you. That's like me and you doing the next heavyweight championship.
It'd have been better. It'd have been better that shit. I mean, the hear Roy, who when he does a regular real fight, just doesn't have anything insightful to say for a man who's boxed as long as he did.
His legs are tired. His legs. Legs. I'm worried about his legs. I was like, okay, well, you said that
100 times.
15 times, but again, Roy.
Yeah, it was me, Sidney Smith. I said it.
Yeah.
Run up on me. Bring your checkbook with you, though.
Yeah.
I heard who was that said you ran up on him?
Fat Joe.
You ran up on Fat Joe. I heard.
And he thought about it and was like, yeah, he was younger. So now that you're older, Roy, know that we suing.
Well, not just that.
Because if you hit him, my eye gonna hurt, and I'm getting some money too.
Well,
so.
I ain't by myself either.
Yeah.
so I don't care. Yeah. You were bad at your job. When I get done telling jokes, if people don't laugh, I was bad at my job. Yeah. You're bad at your job.
Yeah.
I ain't say nothing about anything personal. It was just terrible.
Side note to transition, bad at their job. Damon Dash.
Man. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, it was interesting to hear how much money he owed in back taxes, in child support, in lawsuits, because I always thought Dame was still Dame. Mm-hmm. And he portrayed the role like, I'm CEO, I'm boss of this and I'm boss of that. I got my own this and I got my own that. And he might have all of these things, but you had to sell your third share of Roc-A-Fella and pay, I think it was $8 million in back taxes, and then he owed somebody else a couple $100,000 and still owed child support. I don't know what he walked away with it, but it wasn't that much.
We're going to spend a little bit of time on Dame because Dame Dash, I have a few things to say. And one of the first things that come to my mind whenever I see Dame over the last 18 months, if he pops up on YouTube in an interview, because he never stops talking.
Yes.
Is that documentary that Kanye did. And one of the things was that Dame Dash had Yeezy in the building, but only had him making beats. Yeah. You had him in the building. You didn't want to put any money behind his CD. You didn't want to give him any money to do the videos or anything. You had one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest lyricists and smartest dudes, even though he's a little out there, most smart people are, in the building. Yeah. And for you to be as smart as you want to always portray yourself to be, you dropped a lot of balls. You dropped the ball there. They were telling a story I was watching another podcast, and I believe it was, I can't remember who it was. It might have been on Vlad or another podcast, but they were telling a story about way back in the day when Jay-Z got that shoe with Reebok. Mm-hmm. It was Steve Stout that helped him get that shoe.
Yes.
And during the setup of that deal, and they talked about this in the Yeezy doc too, there was times you couldn't get a hold of Dame at all. Mm-hmm. Dame was busy flying private jets all around the place. Someone was telling the story about he flew a private jet from like London to another area not that far away, and probably cost him like $50,000 to be in a private jet to go smoke weed. That type of shit. And he comes back and that deal is done for Jay and those shoes. And he walked right into Steve Stout's office and slapped the shit out of Steve. Yeah. And they said slapped him so hard to the point that his Rolex fell off. Yeah. Because they said you could hear it hit the wall.
Yeah.
And I just think about these different stories about Dame in terms of how he did people and handled his business and where he is now versus where he started and what we thought about him how many years ago.
And good point in that initially I think Dame needed to be there to kind of break up folks and get them off kilter so that they can move the way they wanted to. Mm-hmm. But to your point of you had one of the greatest minds and you only had him in a little pot. One of my most favorite lines is Jay says, well, make another Jay.
Made Jay, make another one.
So again, I think Dame thinks he's smarter than he is. Or is, we always had that one dude who's stuck in high school graduation, the prom, stuck. So I think he's stuck in that. Well, I took Roc-A-Fella from zero to, but you didn't do it alone. And I think he feels like he did most of the lead work.
But I also would say to your quote of Jay, if you did it before, do it again.
And because he throws stuff again. Dame is hard to root for because he says some stuff. And you go, well, I wonder. But then you go, well, wait a minute. It's coming from the source. Mm-hmm. And the source makes it hard to, because again, like you said, what other business have you done that's been successful? Mm-hmm. You could say about Jay, like he always says, well, he did this and he did that. And how come they're not? Jay's a billionaire. Yep. You're not. So it might have been outside sources that helped him, but he's still a billionaire. And you're not. And
outside sources are always going to have to be there to become to get to that billionaire status. You don't just, very few people on this planet have woken up with an idea and be able to take it and taken over the industry on their own and going from here to there. Yeah. I guess you can think back to the JP Chases, the Roc-A-Fellas.
They didn't do it alone.
Didn't do it alone, but I'm talking about taking an idea and taking it and just running with it and getting there. Dame Dash, and I'm not trying to take anything. The man has done great things. He's made movies that a lot of people still enjoy. Yes. I don't enjoy them, but a lot of people still enjoy them.
Hood movies, hood classics.
Hood classics. Nothing wrong with those. Friday is a hood classic.
Yeah.
I think
it's a little better. A little better.
There's still people who've never seen Friday. That's why I call it a hood classic. Yeah. I don't know how those people exist, but they do. They walk around. They walk amongst us. And I'm not trying to say the guy is not smart at all. Mm-hmm. But if you've put yourself in a position where nobody wants to fuck with you.
Yeah, it says something about your character. It just does. And that's the part, whenever I see him, it's like, man, I want to root for you.
You want to.
But you make it hard. Like, again, you everybody has turned away from you. Mm-hmm. He was mad about Kevin for something. He was like, well, we used to be cool, and then all of a sudden we're not cool no more. He won't take my call. Well, you're that dude that I can't bring anywhere because you're gonna make everybody uncomfortable.
I have a cousin that I used to take everywhere with me, and a couple of times he just did some shit. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my mom about it. This is 20 plus years ago, and my mother said, "When are you gonna learn you cannot take that boy everywhere with you?"
We all have that friend or that just doesn't transfer to the next level.
Yeah,
and again, for as smart and as much as he's done, nobody is willing to turn back. It reminds me of Monique, where everybody who tries to turn back to you and give you a hand, you bite them, and they're like, "Oh, well, wait a minute. I know why people ain't messing with you no more." So,
I think DL said something along those lines about
sir.
that when he tried to do the
Yes,
show
sir.
with her and they got into a whole public. He said, I think he did say, my people told me not to.
Yes.
And I said, but I want to.
Yeah.
And now this is what.
And that was the last person that I had seen who had really given her another shot.
Yeah.
And if anybody was going to give you another shot, DL could have escorted you back to, something. And you bit his hand, and I was like, "Oh no!" So you just a biter.
I will say, when you talk about Monique and you brought her up, and I guess I'm gonna try to put them side by side, put her side by side with Dame Dash. My thing has always been when it came to Monique, and I've said this with Deanna on the other podcast I had. Now it's debatable. She has an Oscar in her back pocket. Mm-hmm. You can say whatever you want to say about you think she's funny, not funny. She has had a career.
Yes.
She has credits. Yeah. My thing with her was, and as an independent creative myself, you could just go create something on your own. Would it be like it was for you when you were getting the big Hollywood shit? No. But you could start something.
Still Monique.
And get something going.
At the end of the day, you have more cachet than David.
Yes.
So you can't.
More cachet than me.
You can't push that.
Right.
To the next level, and then create your own little comedy show, your own little movie or something.
Open your own club, anything.
Something.
Anything.
And the reason that you can't or don't says something about, it really tells me the truth about you. Again, we all are talented to a level. Mm-hmm. And if you have talent plus, again, an Oscar in your back pocket or name cachet, somebody's going to be willing to play with you.
Until they won't. And that brings us back to Dame Dash.
Yes.
You and I were talking about some business ideas that I had before we started the podcast. And I'm just talking about different ways to fund it. Is it all out of my pockets for my company? Do I bring in investors and so on and so forth? If you've ever taken a business class, one of the things they teach you is you don't start a business with your money, you start a business with someone else's money if you can.
Yes. Yes.
And so when I hear Dame going all the way back to when he got into that big tiff with Charlamagne and DJ Envy on the Breakfast Club, which you can find that clip on YouTube anytime, where he says you're not a boss if it's somebody else's money in your business, you are so on and so forth.
Dumb shit.
That's dumb shit.
Dumb shit. Yeah. Again, when I heard it, it sounds great to somebody who doesn't know how money works. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me like he's caught in that 1990s thought process and thinks that it still applies now. Again, you didn't know, you took it from zero to, let's say, 100 million. Mm-hmm. Great job. Mm-hmm. But in order to go from 100 million to $1 billion, you have to think more than what you know. Yeah. Like we always talk about it all the time, Sid. If I only make 100 grand, I can't learn how to make $1 million if I'm not around somebody who's done $1 million.
100%.
So, again, he did great things, but I think he's stuck in that I did great things thing.
I think he's also stuck in this mindset of I got to be boss. I got to be boss. I got to be boss.
But you're not the smartest dude in the room.
And the other part, and that's part of that. And the other part of it is I think he put himself in a position, and I don't know when it happened, but he put himself in a position where I couldn't get anyone of any significance to give me money to invest if I wanted to anyway. Yeah, no. So I almost have to be putting up my own over and over again.
You self-sabotage. And that's what he reminds me of, somebody whom, might have an amazing idea. But as soon as they open their mouth, you're like, oh, damn. Well, check that one.
Me, my.
Yeah. Check. Because people are just going to check out.
I think there's a clip of Jay, and I haven't seen the entire interviews, but there is a clip, and I like it a lot because it really, for anyone out there who may have that Dame Dash mindset, not to that extent, but there's a lot of us, I want to be the boss. I don't have to report to anybody. If I bring people in, then I got to report to them, and so on and so forth. Well, that's just how business is done. But Jay-Z made a point, I'm trying to think of it here, I'm paraphrasing as best I can, when he talks about his, was that a champagne?
Yeah.
Was it Aces or
Aces,
something?
I think it's, was that? Yeah, I think it's Aces Champagne.
Yeah, and he talks about bringing in partners in on that. And he says 50% or something along those lines of something is always more than 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
And that is such, when you look at, And I don't know. He had to learn that from someplace, obviously. So when you look at probably where he and Dame were when Roc-A-Fella started to where they are now with the things that you hear them speak about business and so on and so forth, it is night and day.
Growth and not growth.
Yes.
You've plateaued. And he plateaued when Roc-A-Fella was at his biggest. And that's it. And again, from 0 to 100 million, amazing job. But right now, you can't pay child support. So how smart are you really?
The other part of it, and you used a great word, is plateau. And you also talked about in terms of that guy who, the Al Bundys of the world, 4 touchdowns in my high school football game. It is, and I talk about this too, and I'm trying to marry the two ideas. Making it means different things to different people.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking when Roc-A-Fella was at its height, and we're talking about they were the shit.
Yeah. Everybody had Roc-A-Fella sweatsuit?
It brought clothes, movies, the music.
Sneakers, they had everything.
All of it. Making it means something different to everybody. Yeah. And to Dame, at that moment, we made it. I made it. This is it. This is probably as high his mind thought he would be able to go. And he reached it. While Jay-Z was thinking well beyond
but
this moment.
He had people around him that were like, listen, this dude is an anchor.
Yeah.
And we can get you so much more. But you're going to have to cut the anchor. And a lot of people be mad because he cut his anchor. I'm not mad at him. Business is business. At the end of the day, it's business. And like you said, everybody can't go everywhere with you. Like I wanted to take you, but you don't know how to shut up.
I watched this other doc about Jay-Z that going back 6-7 years, and they brought some old school New York rappers and interviewed them about Jay when Jay first started, and Jay wasn't that great at this, and he wasn't great, and he didn't dress well, and then he got himself tied on to this guy and started wearing the Hawaiian shirts. For people who don't recall, there's a song. This is where I first remember Jay, because Jay was in the background. I can't remember the name of the main rapper. I think it might have been Jay. Hawaii Silky Flame. You remember that song? No worries. And so they were complaining about how Jay-Z would just learn things from people and then take it and then go. And then learn something else. And my thought at the time was like, Negro, what would you think he was supposed to do?
Yeah.
Learn it and just stay with you?
There's a bunch of, they call him a rap jacker. And there are some lyrics that he has stolen from Slick Rick, from other rappers. But it's not like everybody in the industry doesn't do it to some degree. Again, and you could say whatever you want to about Jay. Well, he's not this and he didn't do that and he didn't pull these people up and he forgot about them. He's a billionaire. And he made how many other billionaires with him? Like one of his songs was, I made another one. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, help Rihanna to become a billionaire. Kanye to be a billionaire. His wife is, if not close to a billionaire or attached to a billionaire. So I don't have to like the methods that he did it, but in business, we ain't friends. It's business.
Jay is not the greatest rapper of all time, in my opinion.
No.
But he has so many lines or lyrics where I'm like, oh, man, but I love that shit right there.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites, and I'll post it up from time to time or something, or I'll find a clip to attach it to something if I'm posting on IG is, I'm not a business.
I'm a business man. Yes.
And I think that says it all in terms of what Jay saw himself as. I'm not just this. I'm not just that. I like to think of myself actually as an ecosystem.
That's good. That's a good word.
And so I think that's what Jay sees himself as an ecosystem. And I think if you have those goals that he's reached, you've had those goals in the back of your mind, whether you planted them or someone saw something in you and said, I think we can get there.
Yes.
Dre had Jimmy Iovine in terms of, hey, man, I think we can marry this with this, and then we got this, and then this can become that.
It's all about connections. And I credit Jay, again, to me, one of the top 10. Maybe not number one, but one of the top 10.
Yeah. Great rapper.
Who figured out his niche and then figured out who I could marry with or partner with to make me to the next. And this is what I think sometimes we have a small mind in, that I have to do it all.
Yes.
And your all is only going to get you so far.
I went through that. I went through, because, you know, I sit and I write, and I got to learn how to direct, and I got to learn how to produce. Okay, I'm going to buy a camera and I'm going to shoot it. And then one day I just thought, I can't scale if I'm doing it all, because I can't be behind the camera, in front of the camera. I can't be over here with the clapper, checking lights and all the time. Sound and that's just talking about on a set.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The gaffer. I mean, there's so many people that do different things that you don't understand, that, man, I can't do it all and then be in with the mic and be funny and give 100% all the time, because I'm worn out from doing everything. Worn out.
You can't scale, and you can't always be in. You shouldn't even always want to be in charge. Like my guy Sly, who's out in LA. If he sees this, proud of you, kid. Do your thing. You know, one of the greatest things in terms of what, just using myself as the example, was he and I finding each other and me trusting him in his knowledge.
Yes.
Because he knows things about equipment and behind the camera and lighting, things I didn't know. And then there's my side of things that I'm bringing to the table. And we would just sit and team up and figure these different things out, and then have our discussions on set and off. Not that I'm going to bore you guys with all that, but there is a certain level of thinking you have to get to. Anyone can be a business person.
Yes.
But do you want to scale that business? And if so, sometimes you need to get the fuck out the way.
I use the grass cutting example all the time. I don't like to cut grass, but if it's your dream to own a grass cutting company, let me invest in you. I'll buy you a tractor. You be the best grass cutting person in the world. That's your dream. My dream is to not ever cut grass.
Yeah.
So in business, I had to refrain from saying, I don't want to work anymore. Remember I told you that?
We had talked about that.
I said, let me change my verbiage, because I want to invest in businesses. I don't want to run, per se, 24 hours a day where I'm the go-to dude. I don't want to do that part of it. But I want to help further somebody else's dreams.
And you know what's crazy is we did have that conversation, and now that you're bringing that back, I'm thinking about Dame again, because this is what this part of the show is about, is Dame. If he speaks, words speak life into things.
Yes.
And if you're constantly saying what you're saying, I want to be the boss, I want to be the boss, I'm not going to work for anybody else, you this, and I didn't take, and you can turn your reality into that.
Yes. Again, as we said, you talk so many people whom, like, ooh, you know, I feel like, again, we just said, I want to root for Dame, but you make it hard for me to root for. So if I'm in a place or position to help you, and I'm like, well, if I'm helping you, you're going to take credit, you're going to make it all about you, why am I doing this?
Right.
I don't need the headache.
Right.
Again, likes attract. If you are nasty, then you're going to attract nasty. And, you know, you're attracting broke.
Well, and now you have with Dame Dash's third of Roc-A-Fella, which I believe that also included reasonable doubt.
That's still, I believe so, but I don't know enough about how it all broke down. I know that the third is probably going to be sold rather quickly, because some people wanted to buy it, they just didn't want to buy it from Dame.
Yeah, and so that's where I was going to go. So the state of New York bought it,
yes,
for $1 million, and I saw
was it 8 million?
1 million.
1 million? I thought it was 8.
No, sir. Okay. $1 million is what they bought, what they got for it. And so I saw an interview. Sorry, I can't remember the podcast and give them credit, but I saw an interview where they were talking to Dame about it, and going back to it again. And he may be right on this one. Jay-Z came out a month or so ago before the auction and said, "Yeah, you can buy it, but ownership reverts back to me in like 4 to 6 years."
Yes.
Now I don't know if that's true or not in terms of if that does, but that's what was put out.
Yeah, and that poisoned the water quick.
And that's what Dame said.
Yeah.
He said he fucking killed it.
Yeah.
He said he said I didn't even go because he said he had to go to a function for one of his kids. He said, but there was no one there but the state of New York and their attorneys, and then Jay's people. He said nobody else even showed up. Now Dame tried to spin it as, well, Jay-Z loves to talk about he's loved and everybody loves Jay-Z and blah, 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 blah. Well, how come people didn't show up to buy this third?
Because they knew Jay had already put it out. They're coming back to me. And I don't want to fight with you, Jay.
And he was trying to compare it to when Wu-Tang, someone bought that Wu-Tang album for 20-something million. I'm like, it's not the same thing, bro.
No, it's not.
And I'm with you, and that's what I was thinking. Like, damn, now you know better. Yeah. You know, if Jay did put it out and it's coming back, nobody wanted to fuck.
Why would you? Why am I going to bail you out?
Yeah.
To then have to fight with Jay.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight with Jay.
Yeah.
Listen, because I know Cam and Mace was talking about buying it, and they was like, well, we'll see, and then they backed away from it again because Dame is Dame. Like you make it hard to help you.
He makes that hard, but he needs to, Dame Dash again. I'm not taking anything away from this man. For everything that you can say about him now, everything that's happened with the teeth coming out of his mouth, and all of that stuff. All that stuff we can laugh at. There's been some great parts. He's done some great things for hip hop and for himself. But the part you just have to stop. You have to stop talking about Jay. Mm-hmm. You have to stop answering questions about Jay. Yeah. You need to stop doing podcast interviews because they only want you to talk about Jay for the clicks.
Yeah.
You just need to stop so you can eventually have some type of peace.
Yeah, move on. At some point, you just got to move on past the hurt. And I get it. It hurts and you feel betrayed or whatever it is. But it's like talking about 3 marriages ago. For what? Like, I guess move on. Just move on from it.
I'm gonna share a little story real quick, and then we can, and then if you have something you want to say about that, or we can carry the conversation further, but we can move on too. Years ago when I first moved back to Phoenix, I came back producing shows, comedy shows. I had 14 different shows with my business partner, who I won't name at the time, and Tamara was not my wife at the time, a woman that he was dating. I think they're married now. We go to Vegas for my birthday, have a great time. And I've always been, as you know, a very ambitious person. Mm. And I think that kind of, and I'm guessing at this part because I can't think of another reason why he would have. I was trying to get some things done for myself in terms of my comedy career at that time, in terms of getting into a couple of casinos on some shows with some guys I knew. And I think he took exception to this in some sort of way, because when we got back, come to find out, he had reached out to all of our clients and told them that we were no longer working together. Yes. Yeah. And he was going to be taking everything over. Ooh. The only reason I know that is because a good friend of mine to this day, Chad, was the GM of Tailgaters. And he reached out to me and he said, "Sid, what the fuck is going on?" And I said, "Come back, bro." And I was, and he was angry.
Taken back.
Because he was angry the way he said it to me. And Chad and I laugh about it, but I almost said, "Who the fuck do you think you're talking to like that?" But I didn't. I was just like, "Yo, what's the deal?" Yeah. And he told me what happened. And so I'm calling my ex-business partner, and he's not picking up the phone, not responding to a text message. And it was Chad that told me what had happened. And then come to find out, he had did this. And when I talk about 14 different shows from Prescott all the way to downtown Phoenix. And we were bringing in some serious money together.
Money. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, good.
It is such a blessing now
100%
that you understand that if this is what caused the breakup, what happens when it was $1 million coming in from every spot? So
and so I was telling the story because at the time my feelings was hurt.
Yeah.
We broke bread together. Yeah. We called each other family. That type of thing.
Yes.
But you would go and do that and screw my family, which was me and Tamara at the time.
Yeah. Over what?
And not care about how I'm gonna pay my bills, how I'm gonna put food on my table.
How about you just have a discussion? Hey,
simple.
I thought we were doing this, and you got me confused, and because of misunderstanding, you took it, and now you cut my whole throat. And you did it in a way that was so grimy, which would have made it worse. Mm-hmm.
But you don't. This is the first time this is the first time you've ever heard me tell this story.
Because I want to see the cat,
and you've known me for years.
Yeah, I want to see him.
So my point is, in business, we can all get hurt. We can all be in a situation where you felt like you got left behind or someone screwed you. Yeah. But you have to get over that.
Yes.
Dame Dash sounds like a bitter ex-wife who has never gotten over it.
No.
Your kids hear about it every day. Your kids hear about it every holiday. Your grandkids hear you complaining. Let it go.
It's sad. Again, I feel for him because you can hear the hurt.
Yes.
And you can see the pain. And you know, you need, I hate to say counseling, but you need somebody to talk to kind of get you through that point of because that's decades ago. He's talking about him and Roc. That's decades ago.
I can only imagine, and this is me just guessing, being a black man growing up the way a lot of us have. Maybe Dame has some type of abandonment issues in his past.
Sure
because when you do, you hold everybody and everything to a certain level if you feel like they left you behind. You can never get over it.
It's a childhood hurt. Because I remember thinking back for myself of things that 13-year-old David was, holding on to at 50.
Yeah.
Until I realized, oh, wait a minute. Again, we take the aspirin for the headache, but what's causing the headache? Mm-hmm. And for Dame, there's something behind that's brewing that he can't release it.
Yeah, can't let it go.
And it's poisoning him. And you could see it poisoning his body, his, everything.
He looks, and you know what's funny? And I did have this in my notes, and I almost forgot to say it, but you just brought me to it. He looks so old.
Yeah.
In the interview I watched yesterday, he's
Dame is younger than me.
He is so gray, and has that full, not that it's bushy, but he's got that full beard.
30. I'm sorry, Dame.
Yeah, it is
snappy and unkept.
It just he looks old.
Yeah.
And I didn't look it up. I'm glad you said it. I just assumed that he was. How much older is he than Jay? How old is Jay?
Well, all of them are probably like 4 years younger than me.
Okay, so they're roughly the same age,
50s,
probably.
Yeah, the 50s.
Yeah,
mid-50s.
so it's just bananas. But hurt and pain and stress will aid you.
Yeah, listen,
like nobody's business.
We see it all the time. I mean, just look at the presidents. Every time they get out, every one of them has. You're like, oh goodness, that aged them.
Except for Trump, because he ain't doing any work.
Yeah, again, you don't have to go for morning meetings, and I don't need to hear about that.
I don't read that shit.
Yeah. The daily brief. No, just give me the 2-minute version of it.
Reading and writing and shit.
Yeah.
Trump is president again.
Yes. Yes.
Again, you and I have touched on this a little bit, but I was where I was. You were out in Cali living the high life, actually.
Yeah.
So some of the pictures you sent me, I was like, look at this dude. Definitely drink with your pinky.
Yes.
All right, let's start from here. And again, folks, I know you guys have talked about it, but we haven't. So
comment, share, like, and please let us know what you're thinking about each subject.
So where were you in terms of when it finally landed that he was the president again? Because we were together eating wings and whatnot.
Yeah. And you said somebody's gonna get smacked. You said it beforehand.
I did.
And I watched. I didn't. Again, I think I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning to walk the dog, and I was like, she got mollywopped. Boom! He stomped her. like she stole something. And I was like, ooh, wow.
Now, as of today, the count has gotten a little bit closer.
No, she still got her ass whooped.
But
stop it. She in CNN watching the they have the East Coast and the West Coast.
Yeah,
that was it. Everything else in the was
it was. She lost every battleground that she needed, and it was
Georgia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Arizona.
I walked away from this with one thing initially on my mind, which was posters don't know shit.
No, I think they was lying, bro. Honestly, I still think that people were afraid to say, I'm going to vote for him. Because I can honestly say I was on the fence and was like, man.
Were you on the fence for voting for him?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, you never said that.
Yeah, because again, as business owners and black, white, whatever, I don't care, you get mad at me, whatever. As a business owner, everybody who owned a business was like, listen, I made more money then than I do now. So I kind of understood that as a business owner, there was more positive from me. And for me, I'm like, I also think that the country needs to get what they got. And sometimes we think that it's so great and we need to get punched in the mouth. Matter of fact, remind me to tell you this, that I was watching this show, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but they were like, what was some of the thing that you think everybody should get? And, people was like, love. At some point in their life, everybody needs to show love. And I feel like everybody needs to get punched in the mouth so that they understand what the consequences and repercussions are. And I feel like America and folks who are Trump heads need to get punched in the mouth and realize, oh, but I thought it was going to be different. No, you're not a billionaire. You don't make 7 figures. So guess what?
Yeah.
Get in the back of the line. When stuff get tight and they say, oh, well, they cut food stamps. Well, guess what? I got food in my house.
I've heard people say that, like, this, let people get exactly what they deserve. Some of it comes from watching Hispanic men or people, Hispanic people in general, vote for him and say, well, not me. Those are those people over there.
Okay.
It is crazy to watch minorities who, whether you were born here or you came over legally or however you got here, get to a level, and I think this happens to anyone.
Yes.
Get to a level of life, get to a certain level of finances, and you almost see yourself different than other people who look like you.
OJ.
Oh, perfect example.
You forgot that you was, and they were, this country will remind you. Anytime you get Kanye, again, as soon as you get to forgetting that you are somebody, matter of fact, I'm going to go even better. When I heard that, got arrested or handcuffed in his front yard.
What are you talking
about? Dre.
Yeah.
When a dude jumped into his yard.
Yeah.
And he got arrested and put in the car, or let me not say arrested. He got handcuffed and put in the back of his car in his own house.
Yeah. Bananas.
They don't care.
And would pretend like they don't know who you are. You don't know who Dre is?
Yeah, come on, stop it. Stop. He the only one living in that area.
You don't know who Dre is?
And I called you to come because this dude is in my yard. So,
but I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Where I've called the cops and they showed up and they put cuffs on me. So I've had that happen before.
I'm telling you, when I teach my class, I tell them, listen, when you're on the phone, make sure you explain, I am a black man calling for the intruder in my house.
Yeah. And that's funny because I always joke about, given where we live, like if I call the cops, they coming.
Yeah.
So you better be, because
better be ready to lay on the ground.
Because we don't live in, like people talk about when you're from the poorer areas, the cops don't show up.
They coming to mine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We live in areas where they're coming. But I also say it's going to take heaven and earth for me to ever call a cop to come, because every time I've called them, it becomes a hassle for me. And I called you.
It's dangerous. Again, and I'm not cop bashing. I got a family full of law enforcement. Love them. Good ones. But I'm tired of hearing about the bad apple. Enough with the bad apple. It's a bunch of y'all. It's not just one or two. It's a bunch that have forgotten. Again, in New York, we used to have community policing where you had to live in the area and because of that's gone.
Same thing in Detroit. They used to have that a lot. You could not be a Detroit police officer if you did not live in the city of Detroit. You couldn't be a firefighter.
You have to start there, and then eventually, because again, there were blocks we didn't go up. The cop lived on that block. You knew not to mess around on that block. That's officer such and such block. And I know we got off on a tangent as opposed to him being.
We about to come back. I'm gonna bring it back. So with Trump being president again, I am for people who don't know, I was a lifelong since I was like 7, 8 years old Republican. Long before I could vote, my mindset was there. I don't know why. I'm from a family of Democrats, auto workers who are Democrats, but that's just where I was at with it. Up until halfway through Trump's first term, I said, I got to get out of this because this dude is driving me nuts. And I became an independent conservative. And I'm saying that just so you guys have this background on me if you've never heard me speak about this before. I am a fan of watching everything and reading anything I can about anything I want to know about, and not just getting one point of view from one person or two people. So some people out there, you Fox News lovers, all you do is watch Fox News.
Yeah,
MSNBC, all you do is watch CNN. And no, I'm gonna bounce around a little bit. And so I'm also a person, which is why he and I get along and why we're doing this podcast, a firm believer of keep that same energy.
Yes.
Keep that, which is why I'm also probably, I don't forgive. Keep that same energy. Certain people on MSNBC, the Joe Scarboroughs, the Mika Brzezinskis, I can no longer even go to you for your thought process any longer. They ran their asses down to Mar-a-Lago to go kiss the ring and have these conversations with this man that you have been running in the ground for 7 years, comparing him to Hitler and any other dictator that you could, and saying that he was going to ruin democracy.
Keep that same smoke.
This is why the politics of this country are so out of whack. Yeah. And this is why people should be reading and figuring things out on their own, because you can't trust the people that you're listening to every single day.
I mean, there's been proven that every news agency has, for Trump, fake news. So they sway whichever way it is or one way. Because as soon as Trump won, CNN flipped completely. Like, I was like, I don't know what channel I'm watching. And because the MSNBC was so scared of him not allowing them access, they went down there and swallowed a load before he, like, it was bad, bro. When you told me about it, I was like, there's no way.
Horrible.
That they just went down there and gobbled.
Horrible.
Groveled again. And everybody's afraid of the bully. And he's a bully. But the bully's only a bully if you allow him to be a bully. Again, he can't keep you out of everything. They don't have to answer your questions. But you know what? We can do investigative reporting and somebody will find out.
Yeah, it is. It was very upsetting. The other part of it that was bothersome for me was Joe Scarborough. And I hope that someone shows him this clip. You are the biggest pussy this side of Ted Cruz. That was because this man, you sat on that show and talked about how he talked about your wife. About your wife. He and I say anything about Tamara Smith or Jamie Greaves. Listen, if you're still breathing, we can never be cool again.
You're getting the smoke, bro. You're getting smoke. And it's on-site smoke.
So I have no respect for a man who will allow another man. Look, I get it. You in your 50s, your 60s, whatever. If you don't want to throw your hands up, fine. You got a ton of money. You make a ton of money. You don't want to push that off the table because you don't want to put any. I dig it. Yeah. But to go back, as you put it, and swallow a load for this man after he talked about your wife. Yeah, bro.
Listen, I'll figure out another way. You
made enough money already. If I can't do this anymore?
Even if you want to continue to be a news anchor, the news is still the news. Whether I get it from you allowing me to like, you act like he's going to give you a one-on-one interview. He's not doing that. He wasn't doing it before. He definitely ain't doing it now. So again, news is still going to be the news. I don't need to be there in the room with you one-on-one, getting a scoop, because your scoop is going to be nonsense anyway.
Yeah.
I did a great job, and my posters say I was amazing, and I'm the greatest of the great. Okay, now what was the substance? But I was great. They told me I was great. Didn't you see me? I was great.
And that's what it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be you sitting there, letting him run off at the mouth, and you just nodding the way Fox News does.
Yes.
And if that's what you're interested in, then go get it. But and even if I'll even look past the fact that you compare this man to Hitler. And I'm not saying that he's not. So I'm not saying I even have a problem with any of that. I'm the same person who compared him, Farrakhan, and Hitler, put them in the same sentence together in terms of these are three men who figured out what their people were afraid of.
Yes.
And gave them something to point at for all of their problems. You got it set?
Yeah, I believe so. Sorry.
No, you just want to make sure that is over one of those legs. And so that's why if you might have to turn the whole thing possibly. Sorry, folks. This is live recording you're getting right here. But the wife stuff is the part that gets me, bro.
Like you couldn't. It's like my kids, my wife. There's certain things that no matter what is off limits.
There's no coming back.
Like again, when you said Ted Cruz, it just brought back the memory of like again.
He called his wife fat and ugly.
I don't care how much money you got, bro. I don't care who you are. He's gonna be gone in 4 years, so just wait 4 years. When he wasn't in, you had stuff to talk about. So you still can have stuff to talk about, but to grovel at this man's feet, again, I don't care what position you're going to give me, what job you're going to hook me up with. I'm not. Don't you got a nutsack?
Well, there is one great thing that has come out of Trump winning, and it's the fact that those two black guys, who were, carrying him around, in front for black folks to get that black vote, have no place.
South Carolina?
Have no place.
I didn't see nothing.
They got nothing. Byron Donaldson out of Florida, and I can never remember my man's name for some reason. Yeah, from South Carolina.
Yeah.
Neither one of them got a cabinet position. At least they've been not nominated.
And they gave you the Fox News.
They were carrying the biggest suitcases for this dude all around the country, so that he could appear to like black folks.
Okay. He was cool with the rappers.
And the rappers.
Yeah.
All of them fools.
But they got pardons, bro. Listen, when you got pardoned, you had that felony on you. You was like, thank you. I could travel.
What do you think was one of the biggest issues for Kamala in terms of not being able to win and get into that office?
I don't think that the country is ready for a woman president yet. And even women were saying they're not ready for a woman president.
My mother had made some statement like that to me, to be honest.
Anybody over the age 55 and above, or below, or above rather, still has a mindset of the old ways. So seniors were like, nah. And then a woman of color, wait a minute, whoa. Or some color, because that's a whole different debacle there.
Yeah.
But again, a woman as president, I don't think they was ready for it. And, this is the part that wrestled for me was, I don't know where you stand.
Okay.
Like you're a chameleon and too much of a chameleon. Like you morph here, like you're AKA hip hop and dancing and shucking and jiving, and then the next thing you know, you're in a pantsuit. And I get it, because we always say as black folks we have to morph into different situations.
Always code switching.
But for me, it was a lot, and I couldn't kind of feel where she was from me. That made me. I voted for her, but I was still like, I don't know. Like, he's crazy, but I know he's crazy, and I know what he's going to do. And everybody who thought 2025 wasn't real.
Yeah, you're fooling yourself.
Listen, everybody, the writers, everybody's got a high cabinet position.
You are, but you still are. They got to get past the nomination phase. You saw Matt Gaetz already; he didn't even make it.
But look who they put in. It wasn't much of a difference. She just didn't rape nobody.
Yeah, but I think the Senate and the House, to a certain extent, has already shown Trump, we're not going to just let you have a freeway.
Well, then two other people should not get in there. Secretary of Defense and was it CIA director or whatever?
DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard cannot get in at all.
No.
Bondi, who he's put up for AG, I have serious questions about, because she used to be a lobbyist for Qatar, I believe.
She's Matt Gaetz without the baggage.
Yeah, but she has her baggage because she's a lobbyist for Qatar.
Yeah.
So there's still some questionable folks he's nominated. I was going to say, in terms of Kamala, though, and you and I talked about this all the time with our own private conversations, I'm with you. And I wanted to see past a lot of it, because I just didn't want this dude back in office again. So you want it, and I voted for her as well. But you're right. There were some authenticity problems with her, in terms of there were times you didn't know who she was. And there were times where either she wouldn't or just couldn't get off script. And I told you when we got a little bit closer, how many times is she going to talk about this kitchen table?
Yeah. My mother was a such and such, and we grew up poor and a single mother. And it was like, I asked you what color the sky was.
Yeah.
And she would just, at least he would go way off tantrum and be like, dude, what? I did more for black people than any other president. And people actually believed it. And it would be crazy, but he said something, but she said nothing.
But even if you didn't believe him, you believed he believed it.
Yeah.
And that's the authenticity thing.
She didn't have that.
I think you full of shit.
Yeah.
But I know you honestly believe that shit that you're saying.
Yes, he did.
And so I do know you.
Yes. I know that you crazy, and I can deal with that part. We say it all the time. You could be crazy or nice, one of the two, but you can't be both.
Yeah, and the other part of it was, and I don't think people who your everyday person reads or watches as much as you and I read and watch about the things that we want to know. And so they would ask these questions about, well, if she doesn't believe this, then why did she say this 4 years ago when she was running for president? Because she was running for president.
Yes.
And if you remember at the time, and I just got into a debate with someone about this yesterday, the Democratic Party was, in my opinion, too far to the left. Yeah. When you talk about in terms of listening to AOC and the squad and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders for me, for my taste. And everybody was running. That's where Biden really screwed himself and screwed Kamala in a way because they ran too far to the left in terms of the border.
It reminds me of like the Tea Party.
Yes.
When the Tea Party was trying to be really big. Come on now. And
they were running too far to the right with the Republicans.
They went too far.
Yes.
And I think that's also part of why a large part of the country was like, well, wait a minute. We all don't need abortions.
Yeah.
And what about the border? And why aren't we trying to do something with that? Again, I think Biden got a lot accomplished that Trump is going to benefit from.
100%. He's going to take credit for all kind of shit.
And if you understand, like we do, how the system works, every president takes, it's 2 years. The first 2 years is what the last dude did.
He's going to do the same thing he did with Obama's economy and take credit for that.
Yes.
And people are going to be numb to the truth.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is you don't pay attention. You only pay. We
laugh at this all the time. Say we like, wait a minute. Well, he did this and he did that.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He did. The economy was prior to him, and the things that Biden put in place, like the infrastructure, it's going to help America because we need to fix bridges and roads and streets and give people jobs and the microchips or
yes.
All of these things are going to benefit the first 2 years of Trump, and then the last 2 years is going to be exactly when I say this country gets punched in the mouth and folks start getting their nose busted and be like, wait a minute.
He's already talking about hitting Canada and Mexico with 25% tariff.
I saw that this morning. I was like,
and 10% for anyone else.
And I don't think the country understands what that means.
I told you I talked to a doctor at the gym who did not understand that when you hit a country with tariffs for the imports, that we pay for that. He thought they pay. What are you talking about? What company have you ever seen? He's a business owner.
Yeah.
You're a business owner. I'm a business owner. We don't eat the cost of prices being raised. We pass that shit on.
Yes. Well, guess what? It's 10%. Well, guess what? We're raising prices 20%.
100%.
Again, because it's corporations that run the country. Every corporation that you tax, they say, okay, well, guess what? Whoop.
100%.
McDonald's, they said, okay, you want minimum wage to be $20? Guess what? Instead of 10 people being in there, there's 4 people, and then we got 3 computers that you got to give a tip to.
Bruh, and you talk about, and so I want to see if this actually comes to fruition. He can talk. He talks a lot. We'll see if he actually does it, or if there's anyone smart enough to talk him out of it, because he's going to cut his own throat. Yes. And in 2 years, the Republicans are probably going to get bloodied.
Yes.
Bloodied in 2 years in terms
25%. Again, Canada and Mexico. Again, we import more stuff than we export.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand the math, okay, you think China's going to say, oh, okay, guess what? Don't worry about it. So all those companies that are bringing stuff into China now getting taxed 25% also.
He's almost in a rock and a hard place, I do believe, because he ran the second time on a lot of shit. I think it's crazy. Mm-hmm. The tariffs, mass deportation. Both of those things will severely hurt our economy.
They can't deport 1 million. First of all, there's not 1 million people to deport.
You're talking about 10 million people. They're talking about getting
Okay.
Sweet.
Just the first 1 million people that they're talking about. Again, they can't get the dude who stabbed somebody last week out.
I agree with you. But if there's any way for them to even attempt to do it, it's going to look ugly if you snatch the people off the street.
And this is the, coming from New York, we had stop and frisk. And I just talking to one of my best friends yesterday about the same thing. When you live in the southern part and they start grabbing folks up,
and they're stopping you,
and you ain't got no ID, you ain't got a birth certificate, guess what? Alejandro, stay over here until we figure it out.
if they attempt to do what they're talking about doing there, and the tariffs. Now, here's my thing when it comes to illegals, as they call them in this country. They do a lot of things in this work. They actually pay taxes.
Yes.
In this country.
Yeah, if you have a job, you pay taxes.
So you're talking about scooping these. There's a documentary someone did years ago talking about if we took all the beads off of the planet, what would happen.
Yes.
I would love to see what happens in this country. You take all the illegals out of this country, bro.
Who is working in the fields?
It's to start with. Meat plants.
Chicken, the beef factory.
Yes.
Again, which they kill me with. They do a raid and they take all the people and they send them back. But they don't find the company.
No.
There's hiring 13-year-old people.
Yeah.
But they don't get fined.
Yeah.
So again, all the jobs, or let me say the black and brown jobs.
like podcasting.
Yeah, the folks that they're taking those jobs. Well, all the jobs that we don't want to do as Americans, that's beneath me. Those folks do. So guess what happens when you go there? You can't get your dishes washed or your food cooked.
I'm interested in seeing what happens over these next 4 years.
Come on, man.
I don't know if it's going to be complete anarchy and he's never going to leave office. I think there are too many people in the public service in DC who have a dog in that fight who won't let that happen.
We'll know within the next 6 months of his first 6 months how many people they let in office.
Yeah.
If they let all of them cuckoos in, yeah, bro. The AR is ready, bro. I'm ready for them.
Okay.
I promise you, because they already losing their mind. I walk around and folks just got their chest all out like, yeah, boy. I'm like, what? Yeah. Really? Okay.
I think it's a bigger portion of this country, and I was arguing this, not arguing, but I was making this argument in the green room the other night at Tempe Improv, where I was having a great discussion with Greg Fitzsimmons, who's a super funny headliner. Got a chance to work with, smart guy too, and Tony Tripoli, good friend of mine here in Phoenix. We always have some great conversations. Which is, I still do racism exist in this country? I'd be a fool to say different, but I think it's a bigger issue with class in this country.
Yes.
And that was my argument I was making to those guys, which was, yes, racism exist, but you had a large portion of this country from different races that agreed with him in terms of the economy and what my pocket looks like and food on my table.
Yes.
And a lot of them who see the Democratic Party now as an elitist party. Yeah. A bunch of rich people on the East and West Coast.
Because they kept putting them up on stage. And I was like, who cares what this individual...
It doesn't matter.
But what does he do for me? What does he do for me? Like
Taylor Swift sells millions of dollars in tickets and in music and whatever. And that did not move the needle.
We're not coming for you.
Please. It did not move the needle.
Please don't come.
We're not coming for it, but y'all didn't come out and vote either.
Yes. Again, all of those people are going to take the Trump tax cut benefits. They're
not coming for you at all. The numbers don't lie. Yeah. A lot of Swifties are white women, and white women voted at 54% clip for Donald Trump. Yeah.
Again, you can't tell me that as a multimillionaire that I'm not going to pay zero in taxes if I can. Take all my money. I'm
not even talking about who Taylor voted for. I don't know if she voted or did or didn't. I'm talking about this movement they try to pretend she had, and she was going to register, which I believe she did register a lot of people to vote. that didn't mean anything. A lot of her fan base are white women, including my wife. Yeah. And y'all voted for Donald Trump at a 54%. Yeah. I just listened to Michael Steele on his podcast, the Michael Steele podcast, which you can check out. I think it's a great one. He had Eddie Glaude on there, who is a Democrat. Michael's a Republican still. Eddie Glaude is a Democrat and a professor at Princeton, one of the smartest dudes I love to listen to speak about things. But they both discussed how every cycle, the Democratic Party expects white women are going to come out in full force for them. Like and white women say that they are, but you never do.
Yeah. Again, because they understand the pecking order
yes.
of the United States of America.
And I think Michael still made that point, which is, I said I was going to, but we know as long as white men are in power and doing their thing, we're at least going to get a little bit of cut of that.
Listen, and we always joke with the Patrice O'Neal joke of if you get lost, tie a little blonde white girl to your head.
Yeah, man.
Again,
they'll look for you.
It's just the reality of the world that we're in. They are blonde and hair, blue eyes. You got a ticket to, fame and stardom as long as you're a little cute.
And which is why I always say if Tamara and I was to have a child, I would tell that child all the things you're supposed to. Don't kick your dog. Mm-hmm. Be kind to other people. But also make all the fucking money you can because, again, I do believe over race and everything else, it is class. Yes. I go out, I'm going to be seen in a different light even than someone who may be Caucasian if that person sitting there isn't a racist. Yes. Because if I have as higher class or appear to have more money than this person who's lighter skinned than me, they're going to take care of me first and treat me differently.
Again, if you pull up in a hoopty and I pull up in an Escalade or McLaren.
At Stake 44?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You park it right here.
And if a white dude shows up in a hoopty and I show up in a McLaren, Todd, if you could get that piece of shit out the way.
Yes, sir.
So we
when you understand how the country really works, it's always about economics. If you can do more, you can put more money in my pocket, then you're going to come first.
Yes.
I don't care because green is green.
Green is green. Which takes us to our next topic, Jussie Smollett. Or for people out there who are not Dave Chappelle fans, Jussie.
Jussie Smollett.
And who his sister is, who I'm a bigger fan of because she is so great.
I didn't know there's like 7, 8 of them.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Right? They was like the Jackson 5.
Yeah, but Journey is so talented. She's so good.
Yes.
And whenever she's in a project, I have to watch it. But Jussie just had a conviction overturned.
Yes.
The Illinois Supreme Court. And the reason we're talking about this is not because he had to do any real jail time or anything. I wanted to talk about this.
4 hours? Maybe 4 hours or something like that?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, something.
But so initially the prosecutor made a deal with him. And for people who don't remember, he and it was fake. And I told Tamara the morning I said, this is fake. This has not happened. He tried to pretend that he had been attacked by some MAGA folks in downtown Chicago in winter with a noose. Yeah. And I told Tamara this is some bullshit. There's no way. I said, if this comes out to be true, I'll eat that crow. Yeah. I said, but there's no way this happened. And it was no way it happened. It was two brothers in terms of being black and related to each other. Yes. That he had hired. Yes. They were actors and had been extras on Empire.
Yes, sir.
And he had hired them to pull this little thing off.
Workout party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so he ended up being charged for a crime because he had the Chicago police running around and blah, 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 blah. The initial prosecutor gave him a sweetheart deal, slap on the wrist in comparison to what some people thought and some people would have gotten. Special prosecutor had been brought in and said, no, we're not doing that, and hit him with some other charges and convicted him.
Yes. That
conviction has been overturned. And I wanted to talk about this because this kind of reminded me of the Bill Cosby thing in Florida when they asked Bill to come in, sit down and speak with us, and we're not going to charge you at all. And here's the paperwork all signed up to prove it. And then when the shit hit the fan, they tried to take him to the mat and send him to prison.
Yes. And they were able to, but not as long as they were. I think he got some of it dropped and taken away.
He got the shit pulled off the table because, and this is where I want to go with this. For these two black men, and I'm not going to get into what Bill did or didn't do, so we're not going that direction. I think Jussie, his shit is pretty right in front of you. For these two men, black man, white man, green man, I don't care what, it goes right back to what I said. If these two men did not have the money and the lawyers that they had, both of them are doing time right now.
They're still in jail. Still in jail.
How many men are incarcerated, possibly, men and women of any color, right now because they did not have the money to be able to dig through and find and do what these men were able to afford to have done?
Yes. It was funny because the Puffy situation, they're talking about the dude who, the clothing line, did
Abercrombie.
Abercrombie and Fitch, yes. How this dude was able to bond out of jail. And they have just as much, if not more, on him. And then the dude with the island, how he was able to stay
Epstein,
out.
yeah.
All of these folks, again, there's money at different levels. And, when they want you, they want you. Again, the bad thing for me about the whole thing is that we had an agreement. And then you tried to backdoor me.
We talking about the Bill Cosby part.
Bill Cosby and Jussie.
Yeah.
And this is what scares me as a male and a black man about this country, in that we could have an agreement and then you could rescind it and then make up something. And again, because you have the bigger microphone, you're always going to be able to make it look like I'm guilty before I'm innocent and not innocent before guilty.
I would say this for anybody of a certain economic level: if you can't afford these high price attorneys, because you need to be able to afford these attorneys who have others, newbie graduated lawyers to make them do all the grunt work and look
bulldogs
and look through and look through and look through and look through. Like going back to the Bill Cosby thing, I mean, I don't know. It seemed like that sheet of paper came out of nowhere. That agreement, like it got lost.
Yes.
Like the prosecutor forgot about it.
We talked about Young Thug.
Yeah.
How much stuff that they had on him.
Same thing.
If without that money, Thug's in jail.
Yes. Yes.
Forget the probation for 100 years. He's in jail.
Even that's a good one too. You're right, because what was it? 2 other prosecutors that had to be recused because some shit that they
were
tried
meeting behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But this is, again, if you don't have the attorneys with the money to pay a good attorney, because if you go with a public defender, matter of fact, story of my son, he was speeding and we had to go to the court, and the district attorney was like, "Okay, sir, come in the room. It's a felony, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it down to a minor felony, and there's a fine." And I was like, "Absolutely not."
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, sir, he's old enough." I said, "Well, tell her that I said absolutely not. We'll take it to court." So she's like, "Well, it's serious." I said, "You're not giving my son a felony for driving. I get it. Speeding." I said, "I could go in there and talk to the judge and get dropped to a misdemeanor."
Yeah.
It's plea bargaining. That's what the plea. We drop it down 1. And she was like, "Well, it's serious." And I said, "Okay." She was like, "Well, okay, we'll take it down to a misdemeanor." I said, "I don't want a misdemeanor for driving. Mind you, this is for speeding. Not saying it wasn't a serious crime.
Right.
But I said, I want the same sweetheart deal that you give the rest of these little kids." And she was like, "Well, sir, I said, "Well, I can bring letters." She was like, "You got letters?" I said, "Yes, I can get them from whoever you want. I know how to go talk to the congressman, and when you know people, you know how it works."
And that's what it is.
Again, because the prosecuting attorney and usually the judge or if your attorney is well known, they all play golf together. They at the same country club, so they all know each other. They all talk. So, but if you got the dude who just got out of law school and is making $22,000 a year and got 18 cases,
like I want to make sure that you guys understand what I'm saying and what we're saying. This is not, and I'm bringing up these 2 examples and a third one, and they're all 3 African American. But I believe this happens to people who are not African American.
Listen, it goes back to money. If you don't have money for a good attorney, then you're probably going to end up with a misdemeanor instead of nothing.
Yeah.
A traffic violation.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have nobody to advocate for you, if you don't understand how the system works, again, whatever crime that you get charged with, the plea bargain is to drop it down to a lesser charge. So from felony to misdemeanor. That's just, anybody does that.
Right. And you make it a great point, because if you don't have anyone to speak for you on your behalf, who knows more to be a mouthpiece.
Yes.
They can start you way up here.
Yeah.
And by the time they bring you down, you're like, motherfucker, this I still shouldn't be having this charge.
Yes. But that's, again, they always, even with any person, they're always going to throw it all at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
So they're going to hit you with you're going to be in jail for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then, you were a massive drug dealer, and then they realized, oh, well, these drugs were no good, and we tested them and they didn't work. So now it wasn't 100 kilos, it's only 10.
Right.
So that brings me down to a lower, so you might get less time. And I'm just using that as a bad example. But again, they get a conviction because they get people to plead out.
Right.
99% of the time, it's pleading out.
And they don't want you to go.
The plea deal is, well, we're not going to give you 25 years. We're going to give you 5. And if you have a good attorney, they already know we're starting at 5. We're not starting at 50.
100%. 100%. So the moral of the story is, unless you have money for a good lawyer, keep your ass out of trouble.
Yeah, or get legal aid, or there's a whole bunch of attorney things that they have now that you can buy and be part of. So you have, again, I tell folks, shut up. If you're getting arrested, shut up.
100%.
It's not your job to explain it. Your job is to pay your attorney to talk the talk, because he knows the attorney to cop talk. You don't know it.
You are not a extra. This is not a scene for 48 hours, and nor do you want to be a part of that fucking show.
It's not your field of expertise. So shut up.
Shut up.
I'm not an expert. I don't know what I tell everybody, listen, if you get arrested, first of all, I need to go to the hospital. Because I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I might be in shock. I might be having a heart attack. I don't know. Give me some more time for somebody who's an expert to tell me, oh, yeah, you might have some stuff going on because you got thrown on the ground and handcuffed. So maybe, let's get those lacerations taken care of, and then wait for my attorney to come and say, listen, I will talk to you as soon as my attorney is present.
I like it. All right. This has been this week's drop. I've been Sidney Smith.
David Grieve.
You guys have yourself a good one. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, and don't forget to share the pod if you enjoyed it. And if you didn't enjoy it, share it anyway. Tell people I can't. Tell people I can't stand them two dudes.
Yeah. Something.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. Everyone have a great holiday. Be safe.